afternoon. I'm Rachel Farnworth. I'm from Clyde & Co, and I am the immediate past president of Tomorrow's Foil. Today, I am with Stuart Hardy, partner at Clyde & Co. We're going to have a bit of a chat about becoming a partner, things that it involves, and the routes to success, and whether it is something, the progression steps that you need to become a partner. So we've got a couple of questions. Hi, Stuart. Do you want to introduce yourself and give us a bit of background to you, your role, etc.?
Yeah. Hi, Rachel. Hi, everyone. Well, thanks for the introduction. Stuart Hardy, partner Clyde & Co. Rachel's the immediate past president of Tomorrow's Foil. I'm the immediate past president of Foil. So we sort of share the immediate past president bit. Involved in insurance litigation. I'll come on to sort of how long I've been a partner, but dealing with sort of large loss, catastrophic injury work. Love the job, and yeah, delighted to be here.
So how long have you been a partner at Clyde's?
Well, at Clyde's since last July, when we merged as firms. So, but prior to that, I mean, my stock answer is it's many years. Feels like too long, but no, seriously, this year is the 20th anniversary of me being a partner. I first put my hat into the ring 21 years ago. It was probably a bit too soon for me. I wasn't successful that year, but you take the advice and you crack on, and was successful the following year. So 20 years ago this year, started as at an insurance firm called James Chapman & Co, which probably won't be known to many people now, but back in the day it was one of the sort of top leading northern insurance litigation firms. Turnover was around £10 million, which at the time was big. Now that's obviously not so big. And that was James Chapman & Co. We then merged with Halliwell's back in the, Rachel, don't know if you know the date, but the mid-noughties, I would think. Joined Halliwell's as a fixed equity partner, moved then to BLM as a partner in 2008. I kind of never looked back. So it's been sort of BLM partner, equity partner, and of course merged with Clyde's last summer, which has been fantastic, and joined Clyde's as an equity partner as well.
And what you mentioned there, you said equity in different terms there. What are the different types of partners, and what would you say is there any personal financial commitment?
That's a good question, Rachel. Good question. I mean, back in sort of 20 years or so ago, it was relatively straightforward. Pretty much all law firms were traditional partnership, partner-owned law firms. So you'd have a trainee solicitor, qualified solicitor. Some firms had an associate level, others didn't. And then you'd have a salaried partner and an equity partner. Of course, now there's lots of different sort of operating and ownership models. You have sort of firms that are private equity owned. Others have been sort of absorbed and bought into bigger businesses. Others are floated on the stock exchange and are listed. So there's a whole sort of variety of different sort of partnership models. Not all senior positions now involve that traditional sort of partner role. Could be different firms, different approaches. But in terms of what I would call the more traditional individual partner-owned partnerships, for example, Clyde & Co. Rule of thumb, I would say there's probably 3-4 positions. You've got your legal director position, which is kind of non-partnership but equivalent. Lots of firms use that as a model. Beyond that, the 3 main ones: salaried partner, fixed equity partner, and then full equity partner. And in sort of simple terms, you're a salaried partner, you're still classed as an employee. You have all those employee rights and benefits, which are fantastic to have. It's not usually any capital contribution, being a salaried partner, your own personal money, and you pay the salary, hence a salaried partner. Fixed equity, again, not used in every firm, probably is in most. That's the sort of the first sort of real, not sort of toe in the equity partner sort of pool, but it's a real step in. The financial contribution individually is, generally speaking, less than a full equity partner. You invest a certain amount into the business, and in return you have a fixed level of remuneration or drawings that sort of you take out of the business after, say, expenses are paid. Usually only sort of a more limited option in terms of shares in the profit of the business, a more restricted sort of voting rights and that kind of thing. But you're still an equity partner, you still got
Yeah.
your skin in the game, if you like. And sort of briefly, last is the sort of the full equity partner status. That's the full self-employed. You're purchasing and investing and you've got a stake in the law firm. Usually different sort of levels, different tiers. A lockstep is what you'll sort of commonly hear. Start at the bottom. As you progress, you'll go up. And in return, there's more sort of investment, but a bigger percentage return back again. If the business does well, you as a equity partner can have a good year. You profits of the net profits of the business are shared amongst the full equity partners in accordance with the sort of the equity partner deed, the partnership deed. If the business doesn't do very well, you won't have a bumper year, and you could theoretically lose money, earning less, or even if you don't, you'll be earning less than sort of juniors in the team. So it's a risk reward, type sort of position. But yeah, generally speaking, SP, fixed EP, EP.
Okay, so that in terms of then partnership, when you're at the top, that is pretty much like a self-employed setup, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So if you've got your own business, if your business is doing well, you essentially reap more rewards. If the business isn't doing so well, then you might, that year you might not have
absolutely.
a great.
Yeah.
And did you see your role change in the sense that as you became, an equity partner, etc., you mentioned about voting rights and things like that. Is there a distinct division, would you say, between, the different levels, or is it just sort of less formal than that?
I think, look, it's different experience for different people. I know, sort of colleagues over the years who've gone from that salary partner into sort of equity partner type role. They've noticed a real change. All of a sudden you go from being, let's put this really, but you're told what to do. Sounds a bit awful,
like
but,
an employee to
an
then
employee
working for
to
yourself.
actually, you make the decisions, or you're involved in those decisions. That's can be quite a daunting task. Each and every little thing that happens. Of course, there's boards, there's committees, there's support, etc. There's operations, but ultimately it rests on the partners' heads.
On your head. So it's a big commitment, isn't it? And you could say that potentially it could be stressful, in terms of the decisions that need to be made as a business, and potentially that's one of the disadvantages, isn't it? So in terms of advantages and disadvantages of being a partner, what would you say those are?
Gosh, how long have we got? I mean, look, the first, well, there's a flip, two sides to every coin, and what for some people are advantages and disadvantages for other, disadvantages for some, advantages for others. So,
as in
I think,
every
look,
role, isn't it?
absolutely. It really depends, I think, on how you look at things, your sort of perception, how you're wired up, I suppose. I mean, the first thing I think is worth, putting out there and saying is it's hard work. Most careers involve hard work, commitment, etc. So you need a bit of skill and ability, but it's full on hard work, and I don't think that's something which you can shy away from. So as you're starting out your legal career, it will be week after week, month after month, year after year of I mean, make sure you'll know this, and you work very, very hard. But it's again, that's not for everyone. But flip side of the coin, that can be really what motivates people. Really rewarding. You get to be a partner. Look, first thing, it feels great. You've been in the sort of the industry for 10, 20, however many years, 25 years. It feels great. You can't deny that. It's a life moment. There is, I think, maybe not instantly, but certainly over time, peers, clients, colleagues, there's a slight change in, you're now a partner. You can't rely on that badge, but it helps. as we said before, it's great to be involved or more involved in terms of day-to-day decision making, shaping what the business does, shaping sort of the progression, being involved in bringing people on. In some ways, you're sort of responsible for people's lives. Sounds quite dramatic, but you are.
Yeah.
So lots of benefits. Interestingly, the one I will mention it, but it's probably bottom of the list is income. Yeah, it's nice as you progress with your career, you move into partnership, and up the partnership, you generally speaking get paid more, as you would expect. That's nice. Does it motivate? I think we all got told, but didn't we, sort of in younger years, money isn't what motivates people, it's the reward for working hard. And that's just really true. And there's, I think certainly for me, what I found that as the career progressed, moved into partnership, how many years ago it was, that's not the thing that you focus on. You focus on being involved, doing a good job, etc. And the remuneration will follow. So lots of advantages. Just finishing off disadvantages. Well, I'm going to say none, but that's not just for just for the sake of this. But again, it depends on your point of view. It's a lot of responsibility and hard work. Sometimes it does feel that you've got at critical moments, the world on your shoulders. You are accountable. If something goes wrong, it's down to you. Ultimately, it's a 24/7 job. Of course, you get annual leave. Of course, we go away, but you're running a business. If something needs to be done or a decision needs to be made, you need to be accessible. So all of that stuff isn't for everybody, depending on how you view it. That motivates. That's great. It's a mindset. That's part of being an owner or partial owner of a law firm.
In that sense, one of the disadvantages that I always thought about in terms of becoming a partner is potentially being moved away from fee earning. So the day-to-day role that I do, for example, in terms of, picking up cases, dealing with cases and dealing with law and, being a solicitor, essentially. One of the disadvantages that I always envisaged is as you move further up, you potentially are taken away from that work. So you do less and less sort of fee earning work because it's more business minded. So if your core skills are around and you really enjoy getting the job done from a legal perspective, i.e. being a solicitor, essentially being a partner, sometimes you might not have as much hands-on involvement in cases.
That's a fair point. And but I think probably my sort of take on that would be there's no one size fits all. So maybe the way I approach it, it is sort of in terms of that business involvement, and different things drive different people. But there are many sort of partners and senior partners who have sort of globally leading, global leading lawyers, top of the tree, still very much on the tools. I think the two go hand in hand. You build your career based on your legal expertise, and that clearly you need to show a wide range of skills, but that is what brings you and takes you into partnership in the more senior positions. You do need to learn to adapt and to take on, learn different skills, new skills. It's not all it stops, but it ceases to be at one point just about the files, just about the legal work. Well, that doesn't go.
Yeah, and essentially, but some of the points that you made there, would you say that as you progress, you actually become more aware of like a lot of business skills as well? So you develop business skills, running of businesses. Of course, a lot of the work that we do, both you and I, we work in sort of the insurance practice. So we work with, businesses and we advise businesses along with the insurer. And we obviously have to understand the market in which they operate and the business, etc., before we take maybe a litigation decision. But would you say that you've built upon your sort of wider business skills in terms of becoming a partner? Because of course, in terms of making decisions based on how the business runs, and as you are involved in more of those decisions, you obviously become more aware of the market in which we operate and the decisions that need to be made. So those business skills develop as you progress as well, would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a really fair point. Sometimes that comes quite naturally. Sometimes that requires effort. It's learning things which you didn't know before. Clyde & Co. would be the same with other firms. There's lots of support for partners on developing their, careers, different skill sets you have to sort of grapple with and, come to terms with. But yeah, as a lawyer, it's a kind of a people industry. We sell our time. It's all down to, you've got to get the work through the door. It's getting clients, knowing your clients, understanding them, and as you say, their sectors, their industries. And I think it's that full 360 kind of approach, knowing their industry, knowing your own. But yeah, so definitely the two sort of go hand in hand in terms of learning and progression.
Yeah,
Really
and
good
that
point.
leads us on nicely to the next query that I had. What did you have to do to make partner then? What steps did you have to take? If you can recall with maybe your previous terms. But I know things have changed now. Even qualifying's changed now. In terms of the new exams and things like that. But is there a core step in terms of what you would recall?
Yeah, it feels like yesterday. I mean, the old adage, time flies, and it does do. But I think, look, it is different now. It's probably fair to say. Is the bar higher? Probably yes. The flip side, I think it's fair to say it is now a lot more transparent. I think the legal sector is bigger. There's more partner roles. Firms are bigger. But in general terms, it's no different now to what it was, say, 20 years ago, and no doubt what it was 10, 20 years before that. It's work. It's back to basics. It's day in, day out, hard work, showing commitment. Yes, again, skill and ability, that has to be there. You have to demonstrate that you understand what it takes to be a partner and what being a partner means. It's not just a promotion. It's not just I've done really well and I've been here for a few years, I should be a partner. Actually, that you've got what it takes, I suppose, to step up to the plate and shift into a different role. I mean, for me, it was I think it wasn't a tap on the shoulder, or maybe it was 20 years ago, as salary partner. Paper in an interview, voted on in. I think my next partner, again, a good few years ago, that was more hard work. That was very much a business case. Why should I be a partner? Why does the business need me as a partner? Business case, interview, further interview, etc., and then again voted on by the full equity partnership. So, and that'll be similar sort of process at those firms. But again, come back to the basic. Just got to get your head down.
Yeah, and it's fair to say, isn't there, that a lot of firms now specifically have a lot of development pathways. As you said, it's a lot more transparent now, and
Absolutely.
you do have a lot of businesses have schemes that younger lawyers go on to progress to, as you said, legal director, and then further maybe partnership, etc. And there's a lot of skill boot camps and away days that they do with specific training, etc. So that there is a real build up on those key skills when you apply, and then move through the process. Each firm will obviously be slightly different, but there is a defined process at most places now, and that is published internally. And it'll be speaking with your manager, see how you're getting on, apply internally, and then move through the various processes that are in place, i.e. Attend the events and the skills boot camps, etc., that each firm has.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think you've said it perfectly there, Rachel. And as I mentioned before, it is more transparent. It is more there's processes to follow, as you say. I think what's really great is that partnership isn't the only route now. It used to be it was that or you moved into a different industry. Now there's many people, and not just our firm, but different firms, many senior people, key decision makers who are partners, and they've taken a slightly different route. So there's no one size fits all. Partnership is fantastic, suits many people, but doesn't suit anyone. And I think the key really is just to understand what the options are and really sort of understand and reflect on yourself and what's right for any one person as an individual. decide what you want to do and just go for it, you know.
Yeah, and speak to the HR, the careers advisors, things like that. Big firms such as Clyde and Cohen. I know other firms have, distinct career advisors that you can go to and ask queries and things like that. So if it is a
Absolutely.
route that you're looking for, you can approach those individuals and do internal courses, etc. So, in terms of sort of a recently qualified insurance lawyer, then, what advice would you give them? Or what advice would you give to a recently qualified insurance lawyer who wants to make partner?
Yeah, really good point. I think the first thing is to make sure that's what you really want to do. As we said, it's not for everyone. And there's lots of different routes. That'd be probably the first thing I'd say. Second thing, you understand part of that. Really get under the skin to understand what it means. You ask questions, ask your line manager, ask other partners. We all like being asked questions. What does your job involve? It's sort of talking about yourself. So, make sure it's, what you want to do, because once you set on that path, my advice would be, again, first bit of advice, really focus on it and go for it. I've said hard work. Again, it's commitment, all of those things. So I'd say that. I think it's important to have a can-do attitude. Always be the person to put your hand up, not to the point of overworking yourself, of course. That's not good for yourself, not good for anyone. But have that can-do attitude. We'll all relate to this. Hit your financials. It's a law firm, needs to generate turnover. Turnovers generated by lawyers doing work, putting time down on the system. We all get targets, so hit your financials. If you want to be a partner, you in partnership to make money, make profit. If you're not hitting your financials as a junior lawyer, Rachel, I think you'll probably agree that's maybe not a great starting point for it. So I'll say that, make sure you hit the financials, work hard, and just take an interest in the firm, really, beyond just what your role is. An interest in how the firm's performing, let it be seen by sort of the partners that you are interested, and you realise that actually performance of the business is an important thing, and everyone should be invested in understanding that. Anything else? I always think, and I say this to myself even now and to others and colleagues, don't get distracted by what may or not be happening with other people, how other people are doing, just focus on yourself, get your game plan, and implement it. Step outside your comfort zone, push yourself, all of those things that we sort of all get told about. But yeah, I think it's a great industry. I would say I enjoy every day, but I enjoy a lot more days than days where I go, gosh, that was a bad day. But you know what? You can see me saying that with a smile on my face. So for me, I wouldn't hesitate to do it again, I have to say.
Yeah, and you have that in any walk of life, don't you? In any
Of course you do.
profession, it would be wrong to say, everything's perfect every day. We all have difficult days sometimes, and it's about overcoming them, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And I think one of the key strengths as a lawyer, isn't it, is overcoming those difficult days and those difficult tasks, and that's
Yeah.
how you develop and learn,
It
and
is,
that's how
yeah.
you flourish as an individual as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I had mentioned when we'd spoke previously is, one of the things of being a partner is that, this is your, and I think most self-employed people have this, but it's your business. You're working hard for something that is a part that you own a part of, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what pushes a lot of individuals to want to become a partner, because it's, I'm doing this and I'm working hard for the business. And I think if you've been in a business a long time and you have a real keen interest in how the business is running and how well the business is doing, then ultimately becoming a partner may be the right steps for you. But as we've said, there are other roles as well that don't entail,
100%, yeah.
potentially that much as much of a commitment as, possibly equity partner does, such as like legal director or salaried partner. You can still have, a real keen interest in the running of the business, but it's not that level where you're self-employed,
That's,
essentially.
still an absolutely fantastic career. But no, I mean, I agree with everything you said there, Rachel. And, that is one of the attractions for many people about being a full equity partner. You're self-employed. You're having a real role in the business, and that directly affects what you see in your bank account every month. Being completely blunt about it, but I think more important than that is that it's an opportunity to make a difference. And this is, I mentioned, I think probably before, about sometimes you do feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. Sounds very dramatic and grand, but it can be challenging and sometimes slightly overwhelming, but also really rewarding. That the sort of the lives and sort of
the
how
thousands of
other people are
employees
doing, the
that we
people in
have.
your team, people who work with you and others around, even if you don't work directly for you. You've got a real key role in supporting those individuals, bringing them on. We like to give pay rises, we like to give bonuses. I like to see people happy. Nothing worse when somebody in your team or somebody else's team or somebody hasn't got a smile on their face and work's not fantastic. And that's a real responsibility. But that's great.
Yeah,
Really,
because you
really
can push those people
rewarding,
forward as well.
absolutely rewarding aspect of the job, that you have that sort of mentoring side of it.
Yeah. And especially a lot of senior people do have that position in terms of they can help the junior staff, move up and then watch them develop and, see them be promoted, etc., and see them take on more responsibility.
Well, it's interesting. I was having this conversation with a colleague, I think it was earlier in the week, in fact, that, your whole role as a partner, in a way, is to get to a point in your career where you're no longer needed. You're developing teams, you're bringing people on from non-qualified, qualified associates, legal directors, partners, etc., and you're slowly doing yourself out of a role, and that's because ties in the point when you get to, okay, it's time for retirement. If you get to that stage in your career and you've not brought people up to the level where they're looking at you to say, look, it's time for you to move on, then you've not done your job properly.
Yeah, and potentially partnership isn't the role for you, or supervision. A supervisory role may not be, for you. It's not for everybody. As I said before,
Not at all, nothing wrong with that.
A lot of people do find that they prefer, hands on the books and hands on the cases, etc. And maybe they don't want to take on that responsibility of managing people. Being a lawyer and then you can be a fantastic lawyer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can be a fantastic manager. It does
100%.
involve completely different skills, and I think that's in
100%.
any business. You can be fantastic at your job, but you might not feel that you have the correct skill set, or you even have the desire to manage other people. So that is a skill that has to be learned, I think, as well. Okay, fantastic. That's great. Thank you so much, Stuart, for your
No problem
time.
at all. Really nice
And
to have a
thank you
chat.
everybody for listening. If you've got any queries, where can they contact you, Stuart?
Email Stuart, stuart.hardy, hardy@clydeco.com. On the website, more than happy to sort of address any questions.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you.
Good. Take care, everyone. Cheers, Rachel. Bye-bye.